A woman killed by a falling tree branch on New Clearwater Bay Road. El Salvador switched diplomatic ties from Taipei to Beijing.
Hello, good evening. A falling tree branch killed an Indonesian woman on New Clearwater Bay Road in Kowloon this morning. Lawmakers are calling on the government to do more to better manage trees around town. Sharon Tang has more.
This is the culprit behind the death. A branch about 4.5 meters long, 30 kilograms in weight. At around 7:30 a.m., police learned that a female pedestrian was hit by a falling tree branch on New Clearwater Bay Road. She suffered head injuries and was in a coma. The woman was later certified dead at United Christian Hospital. The 48-year-old was reportedly a mother of two from Indonesia, and she had worked in Hong Kong as a domestic helper for more than 10 years. Sources say she and her male employer were on their way to a tennis court before tragedy struck. 16 firefighters were dispatched to the scene after receiving a report about the incident. They removed 3 branches from the tree in question as they were in imminent danger of snapping off. The tree, an Indian rubber tree near a bus stop at Shenli Estate, is estimated to be 30 years old. This afternoon, Housing Department staff removed more branches from the tree. Jim Chi-yong, Chair Professor of Geography and Environmental Science at the Education University of Hong Kong, said the branch that hit the woman this morning probably fell down because it had become brittle due to fungal infections. Who should be held accountable?
We have so many bureaus and departments who are responsible for tree management. But when incidents happened, the tree management office don't have the power to liaise and at the same time to instruct the relevant department to take relevant action.
She also referred to a recent tree collapse at the mid-levels that took the life of a pregnant woman. Chan urged the government to enact legislation on trees so as to clearly define the powers and responsibilities of different stakeholders. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
The Center for Health Protection apologized again for the error it made in the dengue infection update released on Sunday night. Caleb Leung reports.
The Center for Health Protection triggered a scare on Sunday with its update on dengue infections. It reported that 2 infection cases on Cheung Chau involved dengue viruses of different serotypes, but repeated test results indicated otherwise.
The error, initially it was shown to be a serotype 3 infection, but yesterday it was confirmed to be a serotype 1 infection for the second Cheung Chau case.
The mistake may be due to faulty testing procedures, and the center apologized again this morning. The good news is that public health risks may be slightly lower than originally thought.
We believe the source of the infection of these 2 Cheung Chau cases, which was diagnosed about a week apart, they likely have the same source of infection. With this updated result, the situation is relatively better compared with the situation that the 2 cases had different serotypes.
It's worth noting that first-time dengue infections come with milder symptoms such as fevers and headaches. Second infections with dengue viruses of a different serotype will cross-react with the previous one, and that may cause more serious symptoms such as coma and organ failure. District Councillor Lee Kwai-chun said today Cheung Chau's image suffered damage because of erroneous information from the Center for Health Protection, and that may affect the island's tourism industry. She demanded that extra manpower be deployed to carry out disinfection work on Cheung Chau. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Taiwan has lost another ally after the Central American nation of El Salvador switched diplomatic ties from Taipei to Beijing today. This means Taiwan is now recognized by just 17 countries. Taiwanese authorities have slammed Beijing for buying diplomatic support. Jeff Tang reports.
In Beijing this morning, Foreign Minister Wang Yi teamed up with El Salvador's top diplomat Carlos Castaneda for a signing ceremony to establish formal diplomatic ties. The two governments agreed to develop friendly relations on the basis of the principles of mutual respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, non-aggression, non-interference in each other's internal affairs, equality and mutual benefit and peaceful coexistence. Wang praised the Central American nation for making the right decision that is in line with the international trend. In this communique, the government of the Republic of El Salvador has acknowledged there is only one China in the world. The government of the People's Republic of China is the only legal government representing the whole of China, and Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory, Wang said. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen, who had just returned to the island last night following a week-long trip to the Americas, only found out she was about to lose another ally at 7 a.m. After exhausting all diplomatic avenues to salvage the relationship, Taipei announced its decision to end its 85-year relationship with El Salvador at 10 a.m. Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu condemned what he called China's campaign of luring away the island's allies with promises of vast financial aid and investment. He added Taipei was not willing to engage in money competition with Beijing. Wu, who visited El Salvador in July, revealed that the Central American nation had been continuously asking for massive funding support since last year to develop a port. Taiwan had rejected those requests. Tsai herself then condemned Beijing for being a menace to cross-strait relations and around the world. What China is doing right now all over the world, no matter if it is interfering in the inner affairs of countries or destroying the order of international markets, it has already caused a high degree of global instability, Tsai said. We need to remind the international community that this is not only related to Taiwan, that we will not tolerate this serious situation anymore. Tsai added that Taiwan will turn to countries with similar values to fight together against what she called China's increasingly out-of-control international behavior. El Salvador is the third country to sever ties with Taiwan this year, following Burkina Faso and the Dominican Republic. Beijing cut off relations with Tsai Ing-wen's government shortly after she took office in 2016 and has been steadily ratcheting up both diplomatic and economic pressure in a bid to isolate the island globally. Jeff Tang, TVB News.
The outgoing United Nations human rights chief says Trump's frequent harsh criticism of the media could have a worrisome demonstration effect.
Other leaders in authoritarian settings will do the same thing. We've seen now how they mimic President Trump. And so what could already be a difficult situation in other countries becomes even more difficult for the press to operate, and for journalists to uncover stories, and for lawyers to do their work, and human rights defenders to do their work.
Australia's Prime Minister managed to hold on to power after winning a leadership contest within his own party. Malcolm Turnbull survived the challenge of Peter Dutton on Tuesday. Turnbull was all smiles after he defeated the Home Affairs Minister 48-35 in a party room vote for leadership of the Liberal Party. Dutton resigned from the cabinet after losing the vote, which came after a sharp fall in opinion poll ratings. Turnbull must return to the polls by May 2019, but this challenge raised the possibility of an early election. Australia has gone through incredible political instability in recent years, with 6 different leaders since 2009. For now, Turnbull will stay in charge.
So Australians expect us to be focused on them and talking about their issues. They don't like us being focused on ourselves or talking about each other. And that's why it's very important that today the Liberal Party room has confirmed my leadership and Julie's deputy leadership of the Liberal Party. A reminder of the need for political parties and for governments to be united and determined to keep delivering for the people for whom they work, 25 million Australians.
The Taliban has rejected a ceasefire offer from the Afghan government and says they will continue their attacks. The Taliban commander said their supreme leader has rejected President Ashraf Ghani's offer of a 3-month ceasefire starting with this week's Eid Muslim holiday. Today, the Taliban fired rockets towards the presidential palace in Kabul as Ghani was delivering his holiday message, but no one was hurt. Meanwhile, the Taliban released more than 160 civilians a day after they were kidnapped from 3 buses in northern Afghanistan, but at least 20 soldiers and policemen remain in hostage.
And still ahead tonight. The CE says discussions on Express Rail Link operations in their final stage. Czechs mark the 50th anniversary of the Soviet-led crackdown on the Prague Spring movement.
Welcome back to TVB News. The chief executive is expressing deep regrets over comments made by independence advocate Andy Chan. She also promised to hold faulty contractors for the shot into Centrelink responsible. Caleb Long with more.
After a 5-week hiatus, the Executive Council is back in business. Speaking to the media before IXCO's weekly meeting, the chief executive took a shot at Hong Kong independence advocate Andy Chan. Chen has recently issued an open letter to the U.S. president asking him to help revoke China and Hong Kong's WTO membership.
Whether you support one country, 2 systems, or you don't, living in Hong Kong, I think everybody should take the interests of Hong Kong into heart. I can only say that this is deeply regretted, and as I said, I don't think any sensible, reasonable person in Hong Kong will condone that sort of activities.
The chief executive also talked about the recent construction scandals concerning the shot into Centrelink. She promised to take serious action if the contractors involved were found to be at fault.
The government takes it very seriously about the quality, the professionalism and the integrity of our capital works contractors. As soon as we are in a position to announce the regulatory actions that we are going to take with regard to some of these contractors, we will certainly announce it in public.
As for the details regarding the operation of the Hong Kong section of the Express Rail Link, Lam said discussions are coming to a close and announcements will be made in due course. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Public hospitals in New Territories East may see 500 more medical staff members in the coming year. That's part of the Hospital Authority's annual plan after it received a multi-million-dollar government funding. Also announced at this afternoon's press conference, 120 more hospital beds in 3 of the district's public hospitals. For the first time, Nethersole Hospital and North District Hospital will provide 24-hour services for acute ischemic stroke patients who make up 80% of all local stroke cases. The new service will start in the first quarter of next year.
In the Czech Republic, hundreds of people gathered outside the Russian embassy in Prague on Monday. They were there to mark the 50th anniversary of the start of a Soviet-led invasion that crushed the Prague Spring liberalization movement in the then Czechoslovakia. Tanks of the Soviet Union and other Warsaw Pact nations rolled into Prague on August 21st, 1968. They overwhelmed the unarmed citizens, and the country was subsequently taken over by a hardline communist regime fully loyal to Moscow. The occupying troops stayed in Czechoslovakia for more than 20 years and withdrew only after the 1989 Velvet Revolution. Historians say 137 people were killed by Warsaw Pact soldiers in 1968 alone.
And back locally, Ocean Park is hoping to secure a double-digit growth in mainland Chinese visitors as the overall tourist numbers declined in recent years. As Michelle Ngan reports, rival Disneyland will offer bigger discounts to mainlanders.
Ocean Park may become much busier in future. That's because company officials are eyeing new infrastructure projects that may bring in more mainlanders, especially with the opening of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and express rail link that will commence service next month. In fact, mainlanders who live within a 6-hour high-speed train ride from Hong Kong are all seen as target customers. The theme park is hoping to provide greater discounts to cross-border visitors from as far as Wuhan. It is also offering a $650 special ticket for 2 entries in 6 months to those from 10 mainly Greater Bay Area cities, including Shenzhen and Guangzhou.
We expect to drive more tourists to Hong Kong, particularly from the Greater Bay Area. Hopefully, we also could benefit a double-digit increase from this area.
The new packages will be available to purchase 2 weeks before the official launch of the high-speed rail.
While the park has big plans to draw in more mainland visitors, executives shared little information on what they would do to attract more locals.
Neither did its major competitor, Hong Kong Disneyland. It is also rolling out packages with admission tickets bundled with cross-border bus services to 27 mainland cities. Tourists from Guangdong province can enjoy a one-way cross-border bus and a one-day park ticket at around $630. The Lantau Development Advisory Committee expects the island would receive a business boost from 70 million visitors from the Greater Bay Area. Michelle An, TVB News.
That's the news.